Good afternoon. So, I want to start off today, right? Before we start working on completing the game, like actual completion, I want a better understanding of the ending of the game, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about it. I have a lot of questions about the ending, so I'm thinking that maybe some of the more tuned in guys can explain it. So I'm going to start off taking a look at the Final Fantasy Union video, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the ending explained. Spoilers for when you finish. Because I figure this will probably have a decent amount of points that will maybe give us a little bit more understanding. So we'll go ahead and check out this video. I will add the link in the description. This is another warning. All right, major spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth are featured in this video. We highly recommend finishing the game before viewing. So yes, absolutely. If you haven't beaten the game, you need to turn away. All right, turn away. Come back after you've beaten the game. So without further ado, let's check out this video.
After years upon years of waiting for a remake of Final Fantasy VII, fans around the world got their wish in April of 2020. But when Part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project concluded, many were left shocked by what they saw. Instead of being a faithful one-to-one remake of the original story, albeit with a few expected flourishes and adjustments to accommodate for how times had changed, the scenario writers chose to embark on a whole new adventure. The nature of this divergence had been hinted at throughout the game owing to the arrival of beings known as Whispers. Denoted within the game as arbiters of fate, the Whispers appeared when someone attempted to alter destiny's course. But as the game concluded, the playable cast broke free of their destiny, and it set the stage for the future parts of the remake project to embark on an unknown and altogether new adventure.
All right, so right there, I know a lot of people, especially OG fans like myself, who partway through the game or at the end of the game, they decided that they were out. They thought it was a full reimagining of the game, but I believe that this is an actual sequel. So we'll see what he says about that. But I believe that it is a sequel chain. I think pretty much everybody does at this point now. Except for the people that probably noped out of it at the end of the first one. All right, let's see what else he says.
This was symbolized in the initial sense by each member walking through a literal barrier, but it was then further emphasized by an unexpected sequence that revolved around Zack Fair.
Yeah. So that was a big clue in the first game, right? That there was multiple universes minus Cloud or Zack still being alive. I was not sure that it was a multiverse type of setting until one of the parts in Rebirth where there was multiple stamps, right? So with the whole multiverse thing, it opens up a lot of things, some of which I have problems with, but we'll have to see what he says about that.
The original Final Fantasy VII featured a short event that focused on Zack's last stand outside of Midgar. This moment was pivotal to the development of Cloud Strife as a character, and it was expanded upon to great effect within Crisis Core. The Final Fantasy VII Remake then repurposed cinematics from Crisis Core.
I need to play that game.
There was a fundamental difference. Zack managed to survive that assault from the Shinra Public Security Forces owing to the intervention from the Whispers.
Yeah, that part really shocked me in Remake. Really shocked me. I was like, what the hell? What does that mean now, right?
It became clear, through the use of Stamp as an in-game point of reference, that this intervention had created an alternate timeline, a timeline that dealt with the scenario of what if Zack had lived. The basic premise was therefore representative of the multiverse concept. Every possible choice could lead to many potential outcomes. And although we only see one of those outcomes within our reality, even the smallest of differences can branch off to create new worlds that then play out the what-if scenarios.
Yeah, and I think in Remake it also said, or hinted at, that the ending that we got in the OG game was actually the bad ending. So now we're on a quest to have the good ending, basically.
Fantasy VII Rebirth is then used to explore some of those what-if scenarios. But before we delve into more literal discussions as to how and why this happens, we should point out, even if it was perhaps already clear by the title of this video, we are about to go into very deep spoiler territory, so please treat this as your spoiler warning.
Alright, so there you go. You got another spoiler warning, alright? This is your third and final warning. Leave. If you don't want to be spoiled. Let's continue on.
If you have not finished the game yet, please come back later once you have done so.
Which we've done.
Right, with that,
We have done that. That's why I want to watch the video.
Delving into some of the important elements that featured within the ending sequence. And perhaps the best place to start is with unraveling the role of Zack Fair.
Yeah, I would
As
definitely
mentioned,
like a better
at
understanding of
the
that.
conclusion of Remake, one of the biggest shocks was that Zack was believed to have survived his fateful encounter. For some time, due to how severe this notion was, there was a split sentiment, as there were those who just couldn't fathom that Square Enix would have made such an extreme narrative change.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
big.
when episode intermission concluded, Zack featured in prominent fashion, and this cemented that he was very much front of mind. That sentiment was further emphasized when Zack appeared within the teaser trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and continued to appear within all of the pre-launch marketing activities.
Yep, and
Despite this,
I kind of figured, like, from that point on that you'd be able to play as him, which turned out to be a correct assumption.
it came as quite a surprise when Rebirth started with an immediate focus on Zack. But this just emphasized how important the developers believe this particular character to be. Throughout the game, Zack features numerous times in what is collectively known as Interlude, A World Apart. And even though these segments are short, they serve to highlight the parallels that exist between the reality the player is most exposed to and the one that was created by Zack's survival. Perhaps one of the most notable deviations, though, relates to the white materia.
Yes.
In the original game, Aerith protected the white materia after it was given to her by her mother.
And it was
Found
clear in the
and
timeline
she
that we
then
were playing
used
in.
the white materia to summon Holy prior to her unfortunate demise.
Right.
In Rebirth, this chain of events was anticipated to be the same,
Hmm.
but early on we saw that things had changed.
Yeah, the material is
White
clear.
materia had lost its power due to the actions of the Whispers. We later learned that this wasn't the case.
Yeah, but how was that explained though? Like, how is it explained by the Whispers that it had lost power? That I missed at some point.
Within other timelines. In some, the white materia was still fine, and this became a crucial point. As for Aerith to still summon Holy, she would need to gain access to a functioning white materia. After the unexpected events of the Temple of the Ancients, Sephiroth cornered Aerith and Cloud, sending them into oblivion.
Right.
During
And for this, I thought that they had died and resurrected, because I didn't fully believe that there was actual multiverse thing going on. So I thought that in this part, this Cloud and Aerith had died, and then their souls went back through the live stream into the bodies of the comatose Aerith and Cloud sitting in Sector 6. I thought they were still in the same universe, right? I didn't think they were in a different, like, multiverse.
In this sequence, Cloud was pulled into another timeline by an Aerith who was saved by a Zack who also survived. But here, Aerith did not remain comatose in the aftermath. This then adds another timeline to the equation, as denoted by Stamp sporting a new visual style as Cloud attempts to pick out a gift for Aerith.
All right, so another timeline, right? So we have the OG timeline, we have the Rebirth timeline, we have the Zack is Alive timeline, and so now we have a fourth timeline right here. That's 4 right there, with them doing the date thingy after they fall down at the Temple of the Ancients. So it's at least 4, right? I think my theory after playing the game, beating the game, I think on Friday, was basically, this is very similar to like Final Fantasy XIV, the way they do the multiple planets or whatever. They were split at some point, and then after the split, now they're trying to bring them all together to fix it or something like that. Like, the bad guys are trying to bring them all together to get it the way it was before it split. And then Sephiroth is doing basically the same thing. So I wonder if he's going to say anything about that.
Due to this action, Aerith was able to give Cloud a functioning white materia, before then sending him back to his own timeline. And this just highlights the extreme power that Aerith possesses, as she is able to combine with her multiverse variants in order to work towards a wider plan that they hope will stop Sephiroth. Zack also highlights how many parallel timelines are in effect, as when faced with a choice of who to save between Aerith, Cloud and Biggs, we see the consequences of each decision. Unique variants of Stamp feature in those scenarios, but they're also used to highlight the power of fate.
Yeah. That's the part that I was like, all right, fine. It's actual multiverses. It's not like some slightly off kilter dimension or something, like full on completely different universes when things are like that different, where base non-focused things are like that drastically different. So that was the moment when I finally succumbed and said, okay, these are full multiverses.
Scenario where Zack attempts to save Biggs, for example, Zack still ends up squaring off against a troop of Shimmer soldiers, just as he did in the fate he avoided. And in a scenario where Zack attempts to save Aerith, we see that Sephiroth still manages to hunt her down, even though her location has changed. One of the other major deviations, however, relates to the reason why the Whispers create the scenario where Zack survived. As the game reached its conclusion, Zack was able to switch between worlds, just as Cloud had done moments prior.
I noticed that.
This enabled Zack to aid the fight against Sephiroth, but it was also fleeting, and after his role had been fulfilled, Zack was sent back from whence he came. However, despite it initially seeming as though Zack's story had concluded, an additional sequence highlighted that he is likely to return in Part 3, as Zack is seen wondering whether his world can unite with Cloud's once again.
Ooh, so what's that hinting at then, huh? I didn't even notice that. Like I was saying, when I beat the game, I was in shock at the end of it, so I was just kind of like in euphoria for having beaten it. But it felt way too real. I do kind of remember that part. So what does that mean? So like, I wonder if that's the key, right? So Sephiroth is trying to join all the planets to restore or change, like end the cycle and basically fix the planet, that sort of thing. But it's implying that maybe Zack is going to try to unite at least a couple of timelines, which is sort of what Sephiroth is trying to do. I'm probably talking myself in the circles right now. But let's keep watching.
That then brings us onto the role of our unwitting protagonist, Cloud Strife. Throughout the original game and remake, Cloud was only partially in control of his own actions.
Right.
In the broader sense, he's being guided by Sephiroth, but it's now clear that Aerith is taking advantage of this by enacting her own plans through Cloud. We've only just spoken about how Aerith used Cloud to transport the white materia from one timeline to another without even telling him the plan. And based on this, it's clear that she is at least somewhat aware of how he will act after certain events transpire.
Right.
There was much debate online as to how they would handle Aerith's death, and although some elements were the same, one of the more intriguing aspects that was evidenced within the sequence and at the Temple of the Ancients is that Aerith is able to break Sephiroth's grasp on Cloud, if only for a moment. In the original game,
right there?
Sephiroth...
Oh my god, I almost had a heart attack. When that part happened, his sword came up and blocked Sephiroth. I was like, oh my god, he saved her. She's not dead. But I thought he had saved her. I was like, oh my god. I lost my mind at that moment.
No!
What do we do? Did he stop her?
attempted to have Cloud kill Aerith as she prayed, only to be stopped by the actions of his allies. But in the remake continuity, even though this sequence did still happen, his allies were prevented from entering by another barrier of fate. It was therefore down to Cloud himself to fight against the will of Sephiroth, and he did just that. Based on this, it's now implied that another divergence has been created, similar to what had happened at the end of Remake with Zack. And this is because in the aftermath, we see numerous scenarios. There's one
Right. And in one of them, didn't she survive?
where Cloud managed to break free of Sephiroth's grasp and deflected his blade, something that we see led to Aerith surviving.
I thought I saw that.
Another, where despite gaining control, Cloud ended up being a split second too late. But based on how and what has happened this time, it seems as though Aerith, and indeed the planet, are attempting to be the architects of their own destiny. And by everything playing out this way, the emotional state of Cloud is quite different from how it was in the original game, at least in the scenario where Aerith dies. This is then emphasized by Cloud saying to Aerith that he's in control, and that she needn't worry, and by Sephiroth then belittling Cloud for believing that he's gained some kind of control or clarity over his own destiny. What followed mirrored the original game, as Cloud, who had now been rejoined by his allies, was forced to fight against Genova, this time.
I wonder if he says he has control, because I doubt he has control, right? Because he's still going through all the psychiatric stuff. But he said he has control. Sephiroth makes fun of him. Everything Sephiroth does, Sephiroth knows how things are going to end up for the most part. So he's trying to steer certain things to happen. So is he trying to tell him that so that he tries harder to believe he has control, or is he telling him that so that he doesn't gain control? Right? Because Sephiroth's trying to steer everything to whatever end that Sephiroth wants, whatever his goals are. Whether it's what we know that him trying to unite all the planets or dimensions or whatever, trying to resurrect Genova.
I'm dubbed Genova Lifeklinger. But after the conclusion of this encounter, that's where everything started to change. Cloud was displaced, forced to fight Sephiroth alone, and this was where Zack re-emerged to assist. Sephiroth was then faced across multiple timelines. The first was seemingly Sephiroth's timeline. It was reminiscent of the same space where Sephiroth had a premature duel against Cloud in Remake before saying his infamous line about there being 7 seconds until the end. Now believing the timing was more apt, Sephiroth had plans to face Cloud alone, but Zack gatecrashed the party. After the fight concluded, Sephiroth split the timeline to remove Zack before becoming Sephiroth Reborn, an allusion to Bizarro Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Cloud overcame this duel, only for Sephiroth Reborn to filter back through to the main timeline, where he was faced by a small group of Cloud's allies.
See, that's the thing that makes it like this whole multiverse stuff a little bit confusing for me, is the bleed through. Like Aerith and Sephiroth can bleed through, Zack can bleed through, and then you got popping into one and popping into the other like randomly. It's confusing knowing who can do what and what they're trying to do, right?
Reborn was then forced into the timeline where Zack had saved Aerith before being forced back into the main timeline again. And finally, after Sephiroth Reborn was felled, Sephiroth was then forced to face a combination of Cloud and Aerith in what appeared to be the planet's timeline. This seemed to surprise Sephiroth. And
wait, we're gonna go back real quick. I'll listen to that again.
For becoming Sephiroth Reborn, an allusion to Bizarro Sephiroth. Cloud overcame this duel, only for Sephiroth Reborn to filter back through to the main timeline, where he was faced by a small group of Cloud's allies. Sephiroth Reborn was then forced into the timeline where Zack had saved Aerith before being forced back into the main timeline again. And finally, after Sephiroth Reborn was felled, Sephiroth was then forced to face a combination of Cloud and Aerith in what appeared to be the planet's timeline. This seemed to surprise Sephiroth, and due to it being unexpected, he attempted to casually...
Right, that line. I underestimated you. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, because he wasn't expecting that. And if he wasn't expecting that, that's why I stopped believing that he actually knows like what's going to happen, right? He's trying to make things happen, So he doesn't know for a fact that things are going to happen, right? Because he was surprised by this move. And he said the planets timeline. How do we have these definitions of like what's timeline, right?
Manipulate Cloud again by making light of their present surroundings. Sephiroth concluded this encounter by using Tempest Finis, a rather prophetic ability, but even that was not enough. Realizing that his plan had been temporarily stopped, Sephiroth opted to retreat with a smirk, because he knew, just as Aerith did, that there was still a long road ahead in the fateful game they had been playing. That then brings us onto the overarching objective of Sephiroth. In the original game, Sephiroth was concerned with using Meteor to destroy all life, so as to absorb the lifestream as it attempted to heal its wound
and become
become a god.
Yeah.
A god who could use the planet as a vessel for the purpose of continuing the work of Genova, his mother. That plan was ultimately stopped by a combination of Aerith, Cloud, and their allies. Now, it appears as though Sephiroth has much grander plans. Having learnt about the multiverse, Sephiroth wants to merge the various worlds and timelines that exist, and by doing so, he believes this would enable him to become not just the god of one world, but the god of every world. It's unclear how the black materia and the summoning of Meteor fits into this plan now. The assumption is that he still needs to fight the same
and he
path
fuses
as
it with
the
his
original,
blade.
but that he wants to amplify the effect so that its impact is felt on a much larger scale. But where do we go from here? Based on the visual cues relating to Aerith, it's clear that in the main timeline, she is now one with the livestream, and specific sequences bookended the huge multi-boss fight encounter to emphasize this.
Right. Because she kept traveling, like at the very end there, she kept like appearing all over the place, right? Wait, no, she wasn't appearing all over the place. Those were different timelines. See, this stuff confuses me. I don't do well with multiverses.
Here, however, is that whereas none of Cloud's compatriots can see Aerith, Cloud not only still can, but is also able to communicate with her. She makes a promise to stop Meteor.
The promise, that's right.
Makes a promise to stop Sephiroth.
And
this
then
mirrors the original game, as it's through their combined efforts that the planet.
But then they say no promises at Journey's End.
Spelled out in a rather blatant and simple fashion. The other element here is that Cloud can see the tear in the sky, something that, according to Sephiroth, denotes that a world is doomed to fade into existence. It's for this reason that we saw the same tear in some of Zack's timelines, and according to Sephiroth, when the tear appears, it means that timeline will soon return to the planet's embrace. This last point is further emphasized to the player as Cloud references the sky. We then see the sky from the perspective of his friends, and they see no such tear. Cloud also finds that despite all of the events that transpired, he is in possession of the black materia, and after muttering something about a reunion, he hides it within the Buster Sword. Aerith must be aware of this, but this could be another example of realizing that she cannot stop Cloud from walking his predetermined path, but can still take advantage of it. This predetermined path is then unsubtly denoted by the Sephiroth clones who are shown to be migrating again, having taken up temporary residence in Nibelheim while everything else was sorting itself out.
So they're heading towards the mountains, right? So they're on their way to Rocket Town and north. That's where they're going. Because that's the way, right? So in the OG game, you travel from Nibelheim. You go out the backside of Nibelheim into the Nibel Mountains, past the Nibel reactor through the mountains to the northern side of the western continent, and then boom, right there at Rocket Town.
Aerith's newfound situation, it's safe to say though that she will play a more proactive role in Part 3 than she did within the original game. As for what that role is though, well, it may end up being similar to the role Zack played within Rebirth, but for now, all we can do is speculate around that particular topic. The only other major element worth mentioning is that the ending further hints at the important role that Rufus Shinra will play as the trilogy continues.
Right.
We know, based on developer comments, that Part 3 will have a strong focus on Wutai, and a lot of time and effort has been placed around stoking tensions between Wutai and Shinra.
Alright, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Let me pull that up real quick. Let's see. Developer talks about FF7 Part 3. Yeah, so I don't know where he's getting that information from, but I'll just have to take his word for it. These guys are a little more connected than poor little old me. All right, so back at it. Talking about Rufus Shinra and his increasing involvement. Yeah, he even plays a role in Advent Children. Even Advent Children, he plays a little role.
Also made clear that Rufus can see the whispers, and that Sephiroth is attempting to manipulate him. But we also know, based on Rufus's own convictions, that he is not one to be easily manipulated. This has been evidenced so far within the remake continuity, but also within some of the wider compilation. And it's going to be interesting to see how that specific piece of the puzzle resolves, and whether Rufus ends up helping Cloud just as he inadvertently did within the original game.
Yeah, Advent Children right there.
Either way, we're now in the final stretch of this new saga. Soon enough, we will find out the truth behind everything. Until then though, we hope you enjoyed watching this rundown of the ending and how everything transpired. If you did, please hit that like button, and be sure to let us know in the comments what you thought about the story, as well as any other things you pulled out that perhaps we missed or you interpreted in a different way. Alright everyone, with that, this is Daryl signing out. As always, I'd like to give a big thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube membership supporters, especially Benjamin Snow, The Livestream, Gregory, Justin Dent and Sukun TDK, who are super special Onion Knight supporters, and of course, a big thank you to everyone for watching this video. I'll see you all again soon for more Final Fantasy goodness.
Alright, I'm sharing that video in the various chats right now. Go ahead and check them out. Give it a thumbs up. That's a pretty good video. Explain some things that I had missed. That's for sure. Definitely some things I had missed. What did I say in the comments? What the hell is going on? Yeah. That was basically me. So I was trying to get every version of Stamp. So I was trying to merge everyone in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Actually, gameplay details of the beginning of Genova fight. Notice that Cloud is the only party member without a full limit break age. For implying the other members are in a heightened emotional state. Oh, having witnessed Aerith's death, yet Cloud is not in a heightened emotional state. Evidently, in retrospect, the limit break thing is something that they wanted to do in the original game but never did. Interesting. That is a very interesting point. Very interesting point. So Cloud doesn't have a limit break. Everybody else does at the start of the Genova fight. Very interesting. Very interesting. Good video. Good video. I'm already subscribed. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and check out the video. Like that's a decent explanation of the ending.